Oh, yes. This is the Hardcore Marketing Show. I'm Casey Cheshire, your host for this epic journey. And today's show, sponsored by Cheshire Impact, on a mission to help people maximize their use of Pardot and Salesforce. CheshireImpact.com. Bam. Cool. We're live. We're strolling. We're rolling. I'm excited. It happens to be a Friday today, but we just decided it's not yet 5 o'clock anywhere. So we will podcast. And then shortly afterward, we will find somewhere that's 5 o'clock. My guest today, he is awesome. We had so much fun talking. We almost didn't hit record. Really, we're off to the races. He's a mentor, a speaker, an ecosystem builder, a connector, promoter, all about market entry in the international space, as well as fast growth specialist. Love that. It's all about growth and fast. We don't have 50 years to get there. Let's do it. Founder and chief pot stirrer at Softland Partners. Also founder and client advocate at Meet. Bill Kenney, welcome to the show, sir.
Hey, Casey, how are you?
Good, man. I'm doing really good. Like I said, it's Friday, so I'm feeling it, but I'm excited. And to have a conversation like this on a Friday to close it out pretty soon after this. There may be other meetings, but I'm not sure because I'm going to go see what kind of concoction I can make upstairs.
Sounds like a good, that's words to live by for sure.
100%. And you can put my name on it because that's where I'm going after this. But hey, this is exciting. It's our marketing leadership series. We're talking events. We're talking virtual. We're talking. It's about meeting and connecting with people. And so I want to do this thing is I want to pass you this. It's heavy for me, but that's because I don't work out enough, and I know you do. So here we go. Okay, Thor's hammer. Grab it. You got this. You got it. Okay, there you go.
Got it.
That looked like a good tennis. That was a good tennis grab. Like you just knock that thing over. Like maybe Wii tennis, back in the old days.
We'll do it.
Take Thor's hammer and smash for me some kind of marketing myth, bogus strategy, misconception, set the record straight once and for all.
Yeah, no, great question. So, here's one that we see. So our business, we're in essentially the trade show support business. Our company Meet helps international companies come in and scale through trade shows and events. And so as we walk around trade shows, when we could walk around trade shows, but even in the virtual sense, when we see companies in their booth, they've got all the tchotchkes and they've got, the couple of salespeople in the booth and all that. And then they have this sign that says, sign up to win a free iPad.
Yes.
And so, if you think about that, and you dive into it, it is, that and anything sort of like that, the free TV, the car, the whatever, the free weekend, unless you're selling iPads, it's a pretty dumb idea to give away, right? So who are you attracting by that? And if you think of the process like fishing, you want to be making offers that are in line with what you're trying to catch.
Absolutely. And you had said, who are you attracting? And I can tell you who you're attracting because I don't know if you've done this, but I have. Sometimes, my meetings, I get a little break and I'm just walking around. My eyes are scanning for that. I look at the top of the booth to see if maybe they've labeled themselves properly and I can understand what they are just looking at them. But then secondarily, what do you got? You got something interesting? And I've got 2 kids and it's like, they're still in the teddy bear phase. So if you got a stuffed unicorn, you can scan me and I'm going to sweet talk. You're not going to say no to me. You're going to give me 2 unicorns. And when you email me on Monday, I'm going to unsubscribe most likely, it's not, it's too much, right? Is that the point? It's too much or it's just, what's the problem with the iPad?
Yeah, so let's back away from that just for a second. Yeah. So a quick example. So, I like to give maritime metaphors.
Yes.
I don't know, it's maybe an occupational hazard. So the metaphor I'll give you will be about fishing. Okay. So imagine somebody that fishes, and if you talk to people that fish, they make 3 basic decisions. The first is, what do I want to catch? Which on the surface sounds like a pretty simple decision until you understand that there are 34,000 species of fish, plus all sorts of subspecies. So that in itself, even though somebody that fishes might say, oh, I'm going out today for salmon or for striped bass or
Yeah.
whatever it is, they've essentially decided not to catch 33,999 species of fish, and they're going after this one. And it's a pretty good decision, and certainly for marketers, very focusing. And of course, once they decide what fish they want to catch, it's much easier to figure out where to go fishing.
Mm-hmm.
And the third decision, what bait to put in the water. And so, when you think about it, if you've gone to the right place and you put the right bait in the water, then you're much more likely to attract that exact kind of fish. And people that fly fish know this well. They typically don't go with one fly when they go fishing. They'll narrow it down to the top 5 or top 10 flies that they think will work in this body of water for the target fish, and they'll test. And so, the idea, the notion that our bait is an iPad, or the unicorn, whatever it is, we're going to attract essentially what we bait for. And so you want to make sure that your bait, really lines up with what you're trying to attract. And where we usually start with that is with clients is, you have to, let's start with your knowledge of your customer,
Okay.
that buyer persona. And, what do you know about what keeps them awake at night? And, and there may be some, depending on the type of business, there may be some marketplace dynamics that are going on. Maybe there's regulatory change, or maybe there's, competitive pressure. Maybe there's technology change, whatever it is. But figuring, if you know what's keeping them up at night, then having offers that somehow illuminate that, and not necessarily the cure, but the pain, and essentially letting them know you have something that can help with this pain. And it could be a webinar on, it could be a white paper on. We spend all of our time in the B2B space, so that's kind of where we're focused.
Right.
It's going to be a little bit different formula with consumer stuff, but it's the same concept. Is the bait certainly has to attract the people you're aiming for. I mean, certainly on the consumer side, people are aiming at certain net worths, or certain geographic areas, or homes with certain dynamics, like
Okay.
whether
Yeah.
it's kids and families, or divorce, or whatever it might be. So
Sure.
just knowing, being very empathic towards your customer, your target customer, and communicating to them in a way that that is attractive for them.
Got it. So does that rule out the iPad as too generic? Is that like fishing with a worm, where pretty much every fish is going to be like, yeah, I'm kind of interested in that?
Yeah, well, the iPad. So just think about it. It's not discriminating at all, unless
Right.
you're essentially getting very well. I mean, I think there are a lot of reasons to think you're getting a below average list of the average attendee. So in other words, these are likely people that don't have iPads. So that's already
Oh,
telling you
that's a
something,
good point.
right?
You've
So
already
it's not.
got an iPad.
Yeah. So they're a few generations behind, maybe, in terms of the folks you're trying to attract, but also it's not at all helping you. If the average attendee at an event is good for you, then that's fine. But I guess I
Mm.
haven't met the customer yet that can tell me the sort of the average attendee is good. I mean, if you think of what a prospect is, it's prospect is a very discrete um, individual. They have to comply with 3 characteristics. They have to have a need, they need to have money, and they need to be urgent. If they don't have all 3 of those, they're not a prospect today. So the idea, and that's where I think sales really fails, is that we tend to try to sell to people that don't fit those, and
Hmm.
that's really what you can do. It's on, it actually has a lot of similarities to staffing. People always ask, how do you have such good employees? It's, a lot of it's driven by the recruiting. And I think the same thing is true of, sort of pipeline. If
Right.
you have a good pipeline, you're going to have good customers, and you're going to have a more efficient sales process, one that you don't have as long a sales cycle as maybe some of your competitors, and things like that. But
Yeah.
if the sort of intake, the moving people from suspect to prospect, efficient and qualifying,
Hmm.
then you end up deploying your sales resource, your sales people, and your sales time in a much more efficient way.
Yeah, you want to maximize that human time, right?
Yeah.
I like the maritime lore, by the way. Marines are amphibious creatures, so we go land, sea, air, whatever.
That's it.
Um, but um, I saw a video recently, I don't know, it was Facebook or something, about someone fishing, not YouTube. I lose a lot of time on YouTube, but I'm not sure if I'm sad about that, or I don't know. Better than primetime TV, that's for sure.
Exactly.
I saw a video of someone fishing with a baby duck. Don't
Hmm.
worry, people, it was fake. It was not real. But the lore, or the thing here was and it was cute, and it has a little waggly thing, a little feather on it, and it has its tongue sticking out like it's dead, which is hilarious. But it's fake, it's plastic, but it's got some hooks in it to get fish. But he was saying this is the lure that gets like the pike, the big fish that are able to try to eat a duck. Like that's a big fish.
Hmm.
And sure enough, one went crazy after this thing. And that sounds like more like little baby fish aren't going to be like, I'm not going to eat a duck. Like
Right.
that thing's big. I don't have room in my mouth for that. But a big fish is going to be like, yep, that's what I want. So it sounds like we need to be we need to fish with baby ducks. What is any good example of that? Like if you're going for, let's say, a VP of marketing, or founders of or CEOs of companies, have you seen any good use of that? What are
In
some good
terms
ones?
of the best bait.
Yeah, what are the best bait for? Maybe you pick, like, maybe tell me the fish and then tell me the bait kind of thing.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, and when you think about it, again, it's really knowing that persona really well,
Yeah,
and and I think that probably more important than the best bait, and I'll get to that example, but
sure.
it's really actually I think having the wisdom to not be sure and to be okay with testing.
Okay.
And so when you look at this process, people tend to go, with what we see is people in the early stages, and we work a lot with market entry. So these are companies that don't have any US sales experience.
Yeah.
And so it's almost like a relaunch because they have to
Yeah.
learn how to communicate and attract, communicate with and attract US clients. And so we, in the first 6 to 12 months, we're not doing any large shows. We're doing everything we do is, sort of local and regional. And so, and there's really a few different ideas there. Number one is they can't probably handle large volumes at one time,
Hmm.
both in terms of prospects and new clients. It's just, they don't have the bandwidth to do that, and they need to test the operation as well to make sure everything is right. But even more than that is, when you're doing the large events, they're annual, so you get very few data points, right? You get the events in April, and we had the event in April. We'll get more feedback next April,
Right.
and so much better to do events that are local and regional, that happen weekly or monthly, and that you can have some. It's a smaller audience, same buyer personas, but a
Hmm.
smaller audience, much less expensive. You can sleep in your own bed at night. A lot of efficiency there. But every week you can be doing different tests. And so, like, for example, we do trade shows very often where, it might be a 1 day event, kind of a tabletop, very simple. And in the morning, you have, a booth set up in certain collateral and so on, and it's aimed at a specific buyer persona with a certain value proposition and a certain bait.
Hmm.
Um, everybody goes to lunch halfway through the event, and we completely switch the booth, and we put in, essentially aiming at the same buyer persona, but a different value proposition and a different piece of bait. So I think more of the process is not necessarily which bait, so what's the magic bait? And I think, as somebody that's good at fishing knows, the bait is variable, and you really have to
Yeah. Yeah.
you have to be open to testing and learning. If there are going to be probably a lot of folks listening to your podcast that are familiar with inbound marketing.
Yep.
This is essentially inbound marketing in person. It's employing a lot of the same things. It's saying, I don't know. It's having the wisdom to say, I'm not 100% sure. I have some hypotheses,
Hmm.
and it's really about setting up your marketing in this situation, so that it's flexible in a way that you can test and validate, and really, because if you want to scale, if you think of sort of market entry, and you have that first hypothesis of sort of who the customer is, and it's probably somewhat of a dirt road, and it's curved, and it's up and down, and just it's an indirect route to that first customer.
Yep.
And then you have that one salesperson that's kind of starting the process, and it over the course of a few months and maybe a year, it becomes what seems like a straight paved road. And what allows you to scale is when you can kind of when you get that straight paved road, is that you then can kind of multiply that out, so that within in that second year, you're really much more focused on creating the autobahn. It's like bandwidth, right? It's how much information can we put through this pipe, because that's what creates scaling. You don't want Casey's sales system for selling product X and Bill's sales system and Susan's sales system. You want to have a repeatable system that everybody is, by and large, utilizing to both identify prospects and then convert them into customers. And if we're all sort of employing sort of different, methodologies and sort of different ways of doing that, I think you need to individualize, but the core system and the core definitions of we find companies, even U.S. mature companies, struggle quite often to succinctly articulate who their prospect is. I mean, and we tend to see a lot of creep in that. As companies mature, it just gets very, sort of anything that swims by, we're happy to catch, as opposed to being, because it's hard to market to everybody. It's really hard to have a clear, value proposition for everybody. It's much easier to have a succinct value proposition for specific targets. And
it's true. It's
true.
Now, I mean, it's true, but fisherman to fisherman. I mean, have you seen some lures work well?
Yeah. Oh, sure. Absolutely. I'm sorry. I didn't answer that question directly.
No, I know. I mean, your answer is the right one. My answer is the
no,
little kid asking for ice cream, but I kind of do want to know if there's a magic fishing spot and a lure that you always use.
I'll give you some examples. So with a lot of our clients are selling, somewhat technical product to enterprise type clients. So, quite often these are, long sales cycle, more sophisticated, conceptual type sales. So things like, high value webinar topics, and that can be promoted right in the booth. Next week we're having a webinar on X or Y, and or it could be an executive briefing that happens, that's happening at a cocktail reception one of the evenings of this event, or whatever the case might be. But the funny thing is you think of this, and you really actually only need the sign and a sign-up sheet, or the scanning tool or whatever. You actually don't need to. You don't need to actually ever run the webinar, because the bait has served its purpose when people opt in. So think about the difference in a prospect. The way most people sort of go to trade shows is I think of like what is it, like a barker, somebody who sort of yells out and pulls people from the crowd. And you may even have a strategy where you have two people standing in the aisle and you're pulling them into your booth.
Yeah, I've done that. Hey, come here.
And again,
I got something for you.
Yeah, if you're selling cable services and you're a consumer cable services company, that might be perfect. If everybody is in the geography and they don't yet have your service and all that, that's probably great. But that's a lot different prospect when you pull someone in versus them being attracted in, and not for the unicorn or the iPad, but being attracted in for the bait that you're offering. And the cool thing about doing this at events is when somebody opts in, you have the opportunity, besides them saying, yeah, I want to go to that executive briefing or to that specific content that you're offering, and you get that in, their contact info. But you also have the opportunity to ask, hey, thank you, and we're glad that you're signing up for this. But what is it in particular that's attracting you to this? Is there something going on in your business that's, particularly urgent on this topic? And so you can get much more dimension about what's attracting people in. And conversely, if it's
Right.
not interesting for people, you can say, well, what is? We understand this is not a critical issue for you right now. What are the things you are grappling with? And
Mhm.
so, it's ways to really build your understanding, and really goes beyond the idea of inbound marketing, because inbound marketing quite often is opt-in or not. And
Right.
the thing that you don't see when you're fishing, I think to the demise of the or maybe to the benefit of the fisherman or fisherwoman, is you don't see the fish that swim by, right? So you only have knowledge of the fish, not only that nibbles, but the one that actually gets caught by the hook. You don't see all of the fish that aren't attracted to your bait, which is the challenge at trade shows, right?
That's
If you
true.
do this, you have to have the discipline to commit to it, because you're going to see a lot. The idea here is a lot of fish should swim by. If you do this right, if we're at a trade show with 10,000 people, I only really want to talk to about 100, or maybe it's 200, but it's a much smaller subset that have need money and are urgent for whatever it is we're offering. And so,
Yeah.
it might, if you're, really, if you got the right thing, it might be 1% of the audience. So it's 100 people, maybe
Yeah.
two, maybe three, but it's not, it's not, 5,000 of the 10,000.
Yeah,
For I
exactly.
think they already might have a solution. They don't have the problem. I mean, we want those people to continue walking. We,
Yeah,
and
you don't want everyone, right? Yeah.
well,
Unless
and
you do, you
the
don't.
more the more non-prospects you have, the more it dilutes your time for actually dealing with the people that are, actually convertible. So,
Right. What
yeah.
do you think about the difference between a raffle and a straight up giveaway? Any differences? Prefer one or the other? Or are they just kind of like another lure you could test with your fish?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that's the wisdom of it, is really being open to testing. I would just say, we do work with some clients that work a lot with nonprofits, and they haven't necessarily used the raffle strategy, but that would, if you're doing, if you're doing work where you have some nonprofit partners, like for example, a lot of government contractors tend to have nonprofit partners, because it's a great way to have more access to military leadership.
Hmm.
Um, and and so a raffle, I think, is an interesting strategy for, sort of getting people in, and engaging with people that, otherwise may not be able to walk in or communicate directly. The contract cycles with the government are always interesting, and you have to be really observant of rules, but there are, certain exceptions to all this, and that type of a raffle associated with a nonprofit partner might be an
Yeah.
interesting strategy.
I
So,
think I think less of raffles. You know,
yeah,
it's like it's not as real. It's almost like I'd rather they just, and maybe that gets into your persona work too. I mean, I'm just my own persona, whatever model I fit into. But like,
right.
so I guess whatever we're saying, we're also saying like try it out.
Yeah,
But like from my perspective, it's like if you care enough, why don't you just give me the thing? Make sure it fits me and like give me the thing. I know I'm not going to win the thing, right? Like
right.
I know you got one iPad, you got one of these. All right, I know I'm not going to win, but you know what? I will try to do it. This is not necessarily good. I don't
Yeah,
recommend it, but it just kind of shows that raffles, like, I know the game. So when I'm
yeah,
talking to people, like, oh, put me in the raffle. Oh yeah, this sounds like a great idea. Yeah, yeah. We could probably get budget approval. You said earlier, need money, urgency. I'm like, we urgently need this thing, and we've got plenty of budget. And yeah, yeah, yeah. Anyways, let me sign up for the raffle here. Here's my card.
yeah.
Hoping that's never worked, but I'd be hoping that people be like, oh, okay, that was a hot lead. Let's have him win the raffle.
Right, and that's, yeah, probably half the time that's what happens. The thing that I'd say too about experimenting that we see, and we all go through different phases, and when we started our company 7 years ago, I was probably much more defensive when we were in meetings with clients in terms of, strategy and trying to impose maybe what our thoughts onto the client. And I guess
Mm-hmm.
what I've learned is that that's a pretty dangerous thing. And quite frankly, with companies coming into new markets, which is our specialty, the that can be very dangerous in terms of their approach as well, as being overly confident in terms of sort of making assumptions that aren't necessarily true. And we now kind of approach sort of strategy meetings differently, and that is, as opposed to sort of, here's the strategies. We may make recommendations or starting points, but we're much more drawing out information from the client, which is always been a pattern, but we'll then kind of impose sort of here are recommendations and and whatnot. But one of the things we've sort of learned to do is to be much more open to sort of everyone's ideas, and what worked in the UK, or what worked in Germany, or what worked in Australia is, let's not make any assumptions either way, but really the idea is really to train everybody that's sort of working on the growth of the company to learn how to test and learn how to be open to, to your point about, sort of, I have certain likes, I don't like raffles and whatnot. Who cares? What is your client like? That's all you should care about, right? And so if you switch everybody's paradigm to, it's not about sort of being the loudest person in the marketing meeting. It's really about, how do we learn about the customer and love them and find out, what motivates them, what challenges them, what passions they have, all that kind of stuff. I think of this a lot. I pre-COVID, I traveled a lot, traveled all through Europe and Asia and all that. And hopefully someday we'll get back there.
I know.
But I think about marketing maybe a little bit differently. So when I only speak English, I immediately sort of reveal my ignorance when I travel, because I got one trick. And so whatever country I'm in, for the most part, is not sort of English speaking. And so I'll go and I'll order, sitting in a restaurant and ordering food, and I'll if I'm not understood, my only strategy, which of course immediately reveals my ignorance, is to speak louder. And I think that's what a lot of marketing is today, is when we're not understood, we speak louder, as opposed to learning the language of the person we're trying to talk to. And so I think that's really, I think a key thing is this process of testing is really about learning our customer's language. And it's not, it's not written anywhere. Unfortunately, it's not, there's no Berlitz class we can take for this. We gotta go discover it. And so not being so certain. I mean, ego is a huge part of, I think, developing strong, customer empathy and strong knowledge of how to communicate to customers.
How do you build that language? And I'm with you, by the way. I do like to learn a little bit about, enough to be like polite, thank you, hello, thank you, just because it's kind of fun. But you're right. I mean, definitely don't want to be talking. Yeah. Do you have the? Oh man, that's how America gets a bad reputation. We can't be doing that.
We're brutal.
So that's how marketing gets a bad reputation. So how do you build that language, your customer's language? How do you learn that customer language?
A long time ago, somebody taught me, and this is one small way, but I think, things like this help, is, one really small way that somebody taught me was, as I'm finishing meetings with people, and not even necessarily just customers, but it was certainly from a marketing standpoint, it makes a lot of sense, is to ask a simple, sort of, for those that are old enough, they'll remember the TV show Columbo. But think of Peter Falk in that role, as he was smoking his cigar and putting on his trench coat. He would sort of stand up and get all ready to leave, and he'd say, I just have one more question. And so the one question that I was taught to ask is, again, at the end of the meeting, and I'll share this quickly, but it's understand it comes from a very empathic place.
Take your time. We got all day.
Well, no, that's, I mean,
5 o'clock. We still got several hours for 5 o'clock. So
5 o'clock somewhere. Yeah. But
if it was like 4:50, I'd be like, Bill,
the pressure's on.
We need the abridged version. But no. Yeah.
But the point really is to ask, after you've covered the agenda of the meeting, is to ask, besides what we just spoke about or talked about, what else is it you're trying to solve? And that's the beginning of an empathic relationship. And it's, I see people a lot that will, sort of ask a much more direct question. I think you want to ask, open-ended questions, but really trying to understand it. And think of this, from the standpoint of, there are a lot of different, for most of us, there are a lot of different customers we could talk to, but start with, the top 5%, those that if you could replicate and get 10 more of them, your business would, really multiply. That's your sort of prototype. And if you can love and learn about your prototype customer, so think of that. So then somebody, you ask that question, and half the people you'll ask this question of will not be able to answer it. They won't be ready for it. It's, done right. It's very empathic, but you're training them, right? For the next time, because the next time you come, you're going to ask the same question, but you're, building them into a situation where they see you more of a partner than a provider. But think of where you do get information. So I've had years of doing this where I've heard everything from as simple as I'm looking for a new payroll provider. Our payroll company's messing up, and they just, they keep, delivering the payroll late. They're getting it wrong. And of course, the follow-up question to that is that something you're looking for help with? And, that's really all you need are those two questions. And they go, gee, yeah, do you know somebody? And whether you do or not, you go, yeah, if you do, yeah, great. Let me get you the contact information, or I'll have them call you, or whatever is convenient. If you don't, that's opportunities to network and to use your network. You call your accountant, you call other business owners, maybe other key customers, say, hey, who do you use for payroll? I've got a client who essentially, think of any of these issues like fires that are burning on our clients and prospects' desks. We don't see them, they're invisible, but those are the things that are keeping them from making decisions. And they're also the things that are keeping us from building a stronger relationship.
Right.
And when you talk to professionals, you ask, where do your best referrals come from? 95%, and I speak in front of rooms where 95% of the audience will say, my best referrals come from current or past clients. So, if you want to build advocacy, you have to build value, and you have to build dependability, reliability, all that kind of stuff. And so asking that question sort of opens the door to allow you to both build a much better bullpen, particularly in the areas that serve your client profile, if you will. So besides the things like, payroll, you'll hear industry specific things that are kind of unique to their type of business. I've also had totally on the other side, I've also had someone say, and other personal issues like this, but hey, my issue is I'm trying to get one of my children into a military academy, and I need a letter of recommendation from a U.S. senator. In every state, there are only 2 U.S. senators, right? It's pretty easy to narrow down that list.
Yeah.
And so again, beautiful opportunities to network and invest in people and relationships. But as you kind of peel that back, those clients, we're either on offense or defense with clients. But this, it's very hard to sell against, and price becomes less of an issue when the value proposition is so crazy high. When you're embedded with customers like this, and again, they're going to do everything from share much more depth about their wants, needs, challenges, and so on when you have that level of intimacy and that level of trust.
Yeah, because you're asking about things that don't even relate to you, and there's
all you care about is them, right?
It's like a signal that says, I'm not just trying to get your money. Like can be more than a business transaction.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
And again, it's a value-based relationship as opposed to a price-based relationship, which I think sales today is sort of denigrated to this point of commodity, and so many things are monetized that I think it certainly becomes a challenge for a lot of companies that it's very hard to defend on price. It eventually goes to zero.
I don't know who said it, but somebody's said this before, that I heard that how they found you is how they'll leave you.
Yeah.
So if they found you on price, that's exactly how they're going to leave you too.
I hadn't heard that put that way before. That's a brilliant way to put it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I got to figure out who said it because it's really smart.
Yep.
That wasn't me. That was me hearing it go,
We
and
just
I had the same reaction. I was like, oh yeah, yeah,
so,
wow,
yeah, we
yeah,
employ R&D, rip off and duplicate. So
yeah,
yeah.
exactly. It, so do other countries.
Well, yeah, China
So,
maybe.
what do you see? Because you're wrapped around trade shows and events. What do you see coming around in the future? Are we gonna get back at these trade shows? Can I get back to a happy hour?
Yeah,
You know, like
exactly. What
what
about all
what
the
what are you seeing from the
yeah.
marketplace, and what's your sense on it too?
Yeah, we spend a lot of time looking at this and certainly talking to industry partners. So yeah, and actually, I think this has probably been a very, COVID's brutal, and being
Yeah,
quarantined is brutal, and it's very tough on a lot of businesses and industries. On the other hand, though, but, from an event standpoint, it's really, I think it's exposed us to some really unique opportunities. I think the virtual events done well, and also both from both sides, from both the sort of organizer standpoint and also from the participant standpoint, are incredibly valuable. What we've seen with clients with those, is an ability not only to participate. If you look at, if you kind of in any industry, if you sort of survey the events that are appropriate for any company,
sure.
imagine that you have a list of maybe 50 events for any given company, and if you look at the ones you're going to go to as the sort of the A's, the ones that you might not exhibit in, but you might walk through,
Hmm.
the B's, and then the C's, probably have no consideration, at least at this point. And so what we've seen is that the A's actually get promoted because they're virtualized right now, because whether it's the cost or the timing or whatnot has made that more attractive to go. Maybe it was a long distance away and it would have taken too many days and it conflicted with another event or whatever the case was, but it's given the opportunity to experiment more
Yeah.
with additional audiences and geographies. So that's a really positive thing. And I think the other, I see, and certainly we'll go back to in-person events. And, I think in, I'm not so clear on, sort of what we look like a year from now. I think it may be somewhat of a hybrid a year from now. I think there'll be some in-person events, but I think it's less clear. I think 5 years from now, I don't think we'll really remember COVID that
Yeah.
much. I think it'll be, be in-person events will be just as vibrant. Um, and so I think what it looks like, though, I think if we do this right, is strategies will be much more hybrid,
Mm.
so that that we're using virtual events. I've talked to some organizations who see virtual events, like some of the big conferences, see doing maybe quarterly virtual events leading into the large in-person event, but ways to keep the community together to create more interaction, so that the large event is even sort of larger and more valuable for the audience. I think there are going to be a variety of strategies there, but I think each company really needs to assess this. I don't, and certainly in our space, sort of the B2B space, um, I don't think you can get away from meeting people in person. I think there's the relational side is so important for large sales. But but I think an integrated approach is really pretty smart. So I think there'll be some shifts. I think I think it's revealed some neat opportunities. But boy, oh boy, I can't wait for the day
Hmm.
that we can go to a meetup and have a cold beer with friends. It's just
Yeah. Seriously.
I'm jonesing for that for sure.
Seriously, it is a good point though that the ones that maybe shouldn't have been there, the C's,
Mm,
people that weren't quite figuring them out, they may not even come back.
yeah.
Though I don't know, people they know the fishing they places they go, right? They have their fishing ponds, so they may just sprout back. But I think that you're right. The clever ones will combine into different aspects.
Yeah, I'm not saying the C's would go away. I'm just
No.
saying for any given company, the point really is there obviously there are plenty of companies that go to the C's. It's just
Oh yeah, yeah.
you might not, an individual company might not be selecting them for a variety of reasons: distance, time. They already have enough events in that category. We usually look at a matrix of variables that help us make decisions on what events to do. Sort of the audience
Gotcha.
size, the quality of the audience for what we're looking for, the cost, the distance, all that kind of stuff. And so ultimately you end up with a ranking of the events that if you look at the full list as all of the possible events to go to,
Yeah.
we'll end up with a ranking of the events based on criteria. And all I was saying is that sort of, the A's are definites. We're going to go and do those. The B's we might just walk through. So, it'd be less involvement, less investment, and it probably just one person. And the C's, at least for us, we're not going to go to. But I wasn't saying that those events won't be successful or come
Yeah,
back.
but if we stop choosing to go to the C's, does that mean the C's
Well,
they'll
only
still
one.
be?
I'm only looking at one reference company. So I'm
Oh
just
yeah,
saying,
yeah.
we're making this decision for company one or company A. Company B is going to have a totally different calculus, right? Based on where they
Right.
are geography, what maturity companies are looking for, what their buyer profile is, all that kind of stuff. So it's
Gotcha.
and I think shows that were successful, pre-COVID, if they can survive in the interim, will be just fine post-COVID. Yeah, that won't be a problem.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying with that.
Mhm.
Um, cool. Cool,
Mhm.
cool. My question to you is like, who are you? Like, how do you know all these things? Can you take us back in time a little bit?
Sure. Only by making tons and tons of mistakes, I suppose.
Right? Like, what was it like growing up? Did you kind of have a sense for the founder world that was going to be your baby as you got into this, or no? What was it like
No,
growing up? Where'd you grow up? Was it in Connecticut as well, or?
no, in Massachusetts, just
Oh,
northeast of
okay.
Boston, in a little town called Marblehead.
Oh, yeah, nice. It's a great
Yeah.
place out there.
Good place. Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, no, I come from an entrepreneurial family. My dad was in the ship repair business, did a lot of government contracting and things like that. So I got to see sort of firsthand, I think the struggles and the opportunities with entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
And I did have two corporate jobs. I worked for Airborne Express for several years, and then for a subsidiary of IBM for a few years. But I found I wasn't a very good employee. So
Mm,
it made a lot more sense to me to start doing my own thing, and so I've now started, I don't know, 7 or 8 businesses, something like that. I think ADD is probably a part of it as well. But
probably. Wait, what'd
there's
you say? I was playing my MLB draft over here or something.
exactly. I was
Yeah.
looking at the shiny object.
Right, right. There's a laser.
Exactly. But yeah, no, it's really been an interesting journey. I think the thing that I think about in the process is just how much we can self-determine. And I think when I some of the travel I do is to help entrepreneurs in other countries, and so
Hmm.
we'll go and I'll judge or MC a pitch event in Europe or Asia or somewhere,
Wow.
and entrepreneurship in my mind, from a U.S. standpoint, is our best foreign policy. The idea that we democratize the concept of entrepreneurship. I think when people are financially independent, they they uh, they want a lot less of what you have, and more than
Right.
that, they're fulfilled, and they move off of the bottom rung of Maslow's chart,
Hmm.
and this hierarchy of needs. So, I think and besides the fact that the idea of global trade's really interesting. The idea of being able to, whether it's buy products or sell products, from to and from other countries, I think is great. Just improves our access so much.
And were you thinking about this as like a 12-year-old?
No, I wanted to be an oceanographer and a professional hockey player, sort of the
Okay.
winter, summer vocations.
Yeah,
Unfortunately,
Bruins.
both
So
my
out.
the Bruins, of course. Yeah, my
Yeah,
skating skills were sort of marginal, so it was never really fulfilled. So it was and the oceanography thing kind of fell by the wayside at some point. But I still love the ocean, but just not
What
so much.
do you need to go back and start a company relating to the ocean now? Is that Is that what you're saying?
That I see that. I think that's going to be the retirement company for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't really see stopping. So it's got to be something that travels with me easily, and from some boat somewhere.
right. I'm thinking maybe mine is it's like a bar slash marketing school slash scuba gear rental store
Nice.
right on the beach in St. Croix.
I like this.
And, come learn marketing or pour you a drink or go snorkeling. I don't care.
So
One of
it's
the,
sort of like morning. It's a morning. We have a little workshop on marketing, and then
yes,
the afternoon scuba class or scuba
yes,
adventure for sure. Yeah, no,
exactly. Exactly.
I'm right with you there.
Maybe it's like a jump school or, at least snorkeling. Cause
Yeah.
I kind of don't like the things that swim in the sea that make me not at the top of the food chain. So I prefer to have the island drinks and,
Yeah,
stay near the shore. But yeah, I've got other
fair enough.
friends that are all about scuba. Do you do any scuba yourself, or are
Yeah, no, I love scuba for
you like
sure.
super deep water certified and all the different?
No, just have the basic certification, but I've gone down to probably a little over 100 feet. So yeah,
Wow. What's that? 3 atmospheres?
it would be 3 atmospheres. Yeah,
Wow.
exactly.
Wow. That's legit. That's way
Yeah,
down there.
no, yeah. I can't hold my breath probably from that depth.
I know, but don't you have to do like the waiting thing as you go back up from 100?
You'd probably, depending on how long you stay down, you'd need to decompress coming up. Not a lot if with just one tank of air, but
Oh, you do it all in one. Okay, that makes sense.
yeah. But you can certainly be down there longer with multiple tanks and all that.
Right.
A more complex
Well,
decompression.
tell you what, you run the scuba shop
There you go.
r slash marketing school.
Sounds like a
Let me
plan.
tell you about marketing.
So my wife and I, every couple of years, will charter a boat in a
Hmm.
sailboat in the Caribbean, and
Wow.
take friends to maybe two to four
Yeah.
couples, something like that. And yeah, so we'll arrange it so if there are 8 of us, let's say, we'll arrange it so 6 or 7 of us scuba dive, but we make sure that at least 1 or 2 don't. And the jobs of the people that don't scuba dive is that they have to have the hors d'oeuvres and the drinks ready for us when we come up. So that's we're right with you. So it's really we grade on creativity and
Well, as
but
long as I can set the budget, I'll get, we'll get lobster or just, make
there
that
you
happen.
go.
I
I love
can't
it.
promise how much of the beverages will be left by the time you come back on board, but
Oh,
it does sound like a good time.
it's a even in a bad day, it's still a pretty good place to be. So
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, 100%. Except
Mm.
for the really bad days, then you go back upland or something.
Yeah.
Got a hypothetical question for you. If you could go back in time and talk to yourself, and this is
Mm.
right after graduating, finish Dartmouth, you get your degree, maybe a couple days later, so you can kind of just get a clear head, you're about to do your career. What kind of advice would you give yourself in that situation?
That's a really good question. I think I would have probably gone into entrepreneurship earlier. I think having work experience is important for entrepreneurship, but instead of working for a couple of large companies, I would have aimed at companies that were probably more of what I wanted to create,
Right.
and almost approach it like an internship.
Yeah.
I think internships are such a valuable tool. Um, and yeah, I think that would be one. I think the other would be, it's something I see quite a bit with entrepreneurs, especially where I get to travel a lot and see entrepreneurs in different places. But I think one of the things that really is challenging for entrepreneurs right now is the way entrepreneurship is taught. I think we're selling this fallacy in entrepreneurship education, and I kind of look at today it's sort of bottled in three, entrepreneurship in 3 easy steps. And whether you kind of go to the accelerators or you go to the universities that are teaching it or whatnot, but the 3 steps that I hear are have an idea, get funding, buy a yacht.
Oh,
And
geez.
in those,
Yeah.
but I mean, as a mentor, I get this sort of question all the time from entrepreneurs, and that is sort of, is my idea good? and which to me, number one, as a mentor, I would never answer that question because it's sort of like, how the heck do I know, right? And
Mm-hmm.
the only validation that actually tells you if your idea is good, because the idea is you have a business, and a business has customers, and so my response is, what sales do you have?
Right.
That's the only evidence of sort of product market fit and
Yep.
validation. So here's the second sort of thing I would say that I would coach myself on is, as opposed to being an idea-centered entrepreneurship, which I think again is what's taught, and it's what's sort of driven into sort of young entrepreneurs worldwide, is this idea of have an idea, get funding, buy a yacht, celebrate like Mark Zuckerberg, right?
Mm-hmm.
And instead, I would drive myself, at least, to be a demand-centered entrepreneur. Instead
Mm.
of worrying about the idea, I would I suggest one of two paths: either finding a customer segment, a type of customer that I want to satisfy, and I would love them and learn from them and figure out what's keeping them awake at night, and find a solution or solutions to that problem
Mm-hmm.
that they want to buy. Or I would have some problem I want to solve and find the customer for that problem. Not worry about the product. That product is really the easy part of the whole process.
Mm-hmm.
Finding a problem worth solving is so much harder. The solutions are that solution may already exist. Uh, it's just not applied in this circumstance to this customer. But the number of technologies right now that are sitting on shelves in universities looking for a problem would make you sick. I mean, we're talking trillions of dollars of technology that is sitting on university shelves and corporate shelves that are just sitting dormant looking for a
Right.
problem. And if
Right.
all we simply did was find the problems that are worth solving, and this isn't for people that are on the consumer side that are creating things like the next iPad or the next level
Mm-hmm.
technology. The formula is different, but I think for sort of the traditional entrepreneur, being demand centered is, I think we still need that. Steve Jobs is, the 10% of entrepreneurship needs to be idea centered and just dream.
Yeah.
I think the rest of us mere mortals, who aren't that smart, need to employ simpler rules. And it is, I tell you, the failure rate of idea-centered entrepreneurs is staggering, and the expectation. So think about the idea-centered entrepreneur is, they have this idea, they want to build this new app that delivers beer faster or whatever the heck it does. Who
Mm-hmm.
cares, right? But they have this idea, and the more time they spend on building it, right? The normal thing is they go in there, they have the idea, they go in their basement. 6 to 12 months later, they come out of their basement and they go, well, love my idea. That person is much less coachable. They're much less likely to listen to customers. They don't have any gunpowder left to change it. So all they
Right.
can do is talk louder, right? When they go to sell it, they're just going to talk louder. And that's why we get so many email newsletters, because a lot of people are selling shit that nobody cares about.
Yeah.
But it's a terrible cycle. And that person is really uncoachable, and they not just are less likely to change, but they can't afford to change.
Right.
They've used up all their resources. They're losing team members because they've just they've invested all this time in building something that unfortunately the market doesn't want, and they don't have money to market and all that. And marketing really should come first. We gotta know what people want. And actually, that's, I think, to me, the brilliance of the crowdfunding platforms
Mm.
is
Yep.
you start with sales first, and then you build the product. And I think that's that's a great methodology to test ideas. And obviously you have to follow through, you have to execute on it after that.
You do.
But when I was a kid, there was a company called Franklin Mint Coins. This was the first minimally viable product I saw. The first sort of demand-centered company that I saw was
Huh.
So if you remember them, or you may be too young to remember them, and I think they're still around, but they're doing it differently. But in those days, they bought full page newspaper ads, and they would sell these commemorative coins, which was when there was a Apollo mission
Yeah,
or a
yeah, I
new
remember
president
those.
or
They're
whatever.
commercials. Yeah.
Yeah, they would print these coins. So you if you look at their ad or watch their commercial, they would always have in the fine print, it said, allow 6 to 8 weeks for delivery. So you call the toll-free number, or you send in the order form, and you allow 6 to 8 weeks for delivery. The 6 to 8 weeks wasn't because it took that long for them to pick, pack, and ship it. It was because they hadn't built any damn coins yet, and their only expense right now is a drawing and an ad.
Haha.
Right, and so they're really testing demand. And I think, when you think
Oh,
about it, that's the essence of fishing, right? We're testing this bait to see if we have demand. It's just like the same thing, if you're in your booth and you say, we're running this this executive briefing and this webinar on this topic, you don't have to have developed the webinar yet. I mean,
right.
all you're trying to do is figure out, does anybody care about this topic? And those are the people we want to talk to, because that's a space we want to play in.
Yeah.
So you can use testing in a lot of very unique ways. But man almighty, the one thing I would just beat the crap out of myself until I understood is, don't 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 make a product or build a business around something that you're not 100% sure of the demand.
That's it.
Yeah.
Man, I had never even thought about the fact that they don't have to print those things until they find out.
Isn't it? It's a brilliant thing, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, today you can put up a landing page
Yep.
totally for
True.
free, right? Test any idea you want. There's so
Yeah.
little friction in testing ideas, but you shouldn't stop with that test. Obviously, then
Right.
maybe you have pre-sales, and then you go and talk to customers. Why did what is it you want?
Mm.
Why did you opt into this?
Yeah.
And you obviously want to build to whatever profile person you're trying to attract there, and build a feature set, and get them out, because people that are, like, for example, if you think of something we know people have demand for, right? A cure for breast cancer as an example. People that have breast cancer, right, the survivability rate is reasonably low. They're okay with a 50% chance of success, right? So think about people. If you think of people that are desperate or urgent for a solution, if you can find things where people are desperate, then you can iterate versions of your products to sort of move from 50% reliability to 60% to 70% to 80%. You have people that will allow you and be patient with you because they're so happy to be 50% reliable, and they'll kind of coach you through the process, help you through the
Yeah.
process, and be very glad to be, sort of on the path to a good solution.
Huh.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah, we get some nuggets out of this thing.
you got me in a good day.
Yeah, I get you on a good day. It's a Friday, man. I get you on a Monday. I don't know what's going on, but
You don't know.
well,
You don't
man,
know.
where can people connect with you?
Oh yeah, thanks for asking. Certainly, LinkedIn's easy. Bill Kenney on LinkedIn, and then my email is just bill at either softlandpartners.com or meetroi.com. So either
Awesome.
one.
Love when you just throw out the email. That's great. Do
Yeah,
you do Twitter much?
I do. Yeah, actually at Bill
Okay.
Kenney
Yeah, I
on
just
Twitter.
followed you on
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
Cool, cool. Yeah, we'll put links to all this in the show notes down below.
very cool.
Man, thanks for coming on here. This has been fun, just hanging out. Great way to spend a Friday afternoon. Just I don't know. It'd be a different kind of podcast if we were both drinking, but great
Next one.
way.
Yeah, yeah. I'll have you on mine, and we can we'll have it slightly later in the day, and
Yeah.
be there.
Yeah. What's your podcast? Where can people find that?
Yeah, so we have one that is called Belly to Belly. So belly, the number two, and then belly. Obviously, in-person marketing, and then
Yes.
and then we have one called Soft Land Central that's particularly focused on market entry conversations.
Okay, Softland Central. Perfect. That's cool. It's always great chatting with fellow podcaster, because and you have good audio and just works out well. So
That's cool.
good stuff. Well, thank you again. And for those people listening, if you learned something, and I know you did, because I literally have 2 pages of notes over here, front and back, then share this with someone. Be a thought leader on LinkedIn, and that's how you do it. You say, and don't just link to it. Say, this is what I learned. Here's my thought. Tag Bill, tag myself, and we'll join the conversation in with you on that one. But it is good stuff. Bill, thanks again, man. This will be fun. Let's stay in touch and get me on that boat.
Sounds good. Such a pleasure, Casey.
Awesome. For those people listening, this has been the Hardcore Marketing Show. We will catch you all next time.